thanks for joining me. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're not going to talk about going out and buying a new bait. We're going to talk about taking your old proven baits that you know catch fish, and we're going to make those better. We're going to talk about some rigging hacks, and not going to cost you a dime. You're going to use the baits that you already know and love, and you're going to make them better. There are no silver bullets. I can't tell you that there's one certain thing that you can do where you're going to just go out and start catching fish hand over fist. But I guarantee you, if you watch this video, you're going to see a couple of these hacks that is going to, a light bulb's going to come on, and you're going to think of a bait that you already know that you can use one of these hacks on. So with that, let me get this stuff set up and we'll get right into the video. All right, let's get into this video, and let's do it quick because I'm losing shade and it's going to get hot here. I've got all kind of baits out here. Some baits that are crayfish imitations. We're going to talk about beaver baits. We're going to talk about toads. We're going to talk about punch skirts. We're going to talk about trailers. And real quick, doesn't matter what brand I'm using or what bait or what color I'm using. Think of what you're using, think of the baits that you're catching fish on, and then take a look at some of these hooks and some of the ways that I'm rigging them, and hopefully you're going to have a light bulb come on sometime and say, you know what, I need to try my bait rigged a little differently. Let's start off with some fun. Let's talk about the cover scat, the depths cover scat. Let's talk about poop baits. They call them scat baits, or I call them turd baits. And why? Well, look at that. Looks like a turd. Depends on who you are and what day of the week it is, I guess, but that looks like a turd. One of the things I'll start with today is generally something that I would not waste my time on. There's a lot of these baits that are coming out, they call them fuzzy baits, and the fuzzy baits have a bunch of living rubber in them like this. Now this is one that I made, and if you want to use the fuzzy baits, I know Yamamoto has a fuzzy Cinco, and it's basically a Cinco that has a bunch of living rubber on it. Go ahead and give that a try, but you don't have to pay the money to go out and buy them already made up. You can buy a skein of living rubber for about $4 or $5, and your wife probably has a sewing needle that you can make these with and put as much or as little as you want on them. Do they work? Yes, but I can tell you, before the fuzzy baits got popular, I had experimented with these for probably 30 years. Back when I was fly tying, I had living rubber coming out of every hole, and I would put it on my worms and toads and things, and I've used it for, like I say, probably 30 years before the fuzzy baits were even a thing. So this is a good bait. If you want to put a little hackle on it, that's even better. I call this basically my standard turd. This is my fuzzy turd, and then if things get really tough, and this is the turd that has some living rubber on it, and if things get really tough, I have living rubber, and I've got a little red crystal flash in here, and this is what I call my fuzzy bloody turd. Really gets the fish. In actuality, I wouldn't waste my time with this stuff. You're going to catch a few more fish, and it's fun to play with, but it's not worth the trouble that you go through. But give it a try if you want. Let's cut this nonsense out and let's start talking about rigging stuff up. And we will talk about using some underspins. I'm going to talk about some screw lock hooks like the BKK. We're going to talk about standard wide gap and inline hooks. We're going to talk about weighted BKK hooks, a hook that I really like that's weighted out here, and we'll just go over rigging stuff. Now, this standard rig, let's do a standard rig here, and we'll do it, this is your inline worm hook. Now, most people are using inline worm hooks when they're using T-rigs. Some people will use an extra wide gap hook, whichever you prefer. I prefer the inline hook because it has actually a wider gap from the hook point to the line tie. When you look at the gap on an extra wide gap hook, it's got a big gap here, and it's good for thick baits that need to be pinched down on here, but the gap from the line tie to the point is not what it is on this. I get a better hookup rate, but whatever you're using, doesn't matter. Now, the standard way to use this is simply threading it on like you would a T-rigged worm, or you know, on this I've got a oh, what is this? Some type of crayfish imitation. But this is what you'd flip it out there. You'd put a sliding sinker on it and you peg it. And this is your standard naked jig. Works great. One thing that you can do with this, and this is unweighted by the way, you can take this and utilize your punch skirts. You take a punch skirt on this, you can, oh, let's see, drop a punch skirt on it. So now, and again, I'm not worried about matching colors or anything. I'm just talking about how you would rig this to make it a little different. At that point, if you wanted whatever weight you want on there, you could just take your standard weight. Let's see if I can thread one on. I know that's going to give me a hard time. I've had problems with those weights here recently. So, you know, you take a standard weight, and that would be your jig. So you're just with that one simple inline worm hook, you've added a trailer, you've added a weight. Great bait. Now, if you want to fish this a little, if you like this naked deal, but you don't want to use a hook without weight on it, you can take a BKK hook, and they have what they call a permalock hook, and it is a hook that has a weight in it. Let me pull one out. Let's see. I know I got one in here somewhere. Here it is. This is a BKK permalock hook, and it has a weight in it. And you can see the little prongs on that weight. And what you do with this, you can take this bait, just stick it on there, push it in, and here you've got a weedless bait with the weight right in here. It's going to fall differently than if you have the weight up here. It's not going to drop straight down. It's going to flutter more. So these BKK hooks, I think, are an excellent hook to use to try with some of your baits. And if you want, you can go ahead and put your skirt on it and fish it with the skirt, but you don't have to put the weight up here. And again, it all has to do with how this thing falls. If you're pitching it into heavy cover and you want it to fall straight down right next to the cover, you'll probably want to use a weight in front of the eye. If you want this thing to just kind of, maybe you're fishing a flat, it's a big flat, and it's 2 or 3 feet of water, and there's fish all over, and they're kind of in the vegetation, and they're looking around to see a bait maybe hit the water and just kind of, you know, pop and drop, pop and drop. You might want to try one of these BKK hooks. Another thing we'll talk about is toads. You guys know I love to fish the toad. The standard way to fish a toad is generally on a inline worm hook. Where do I have that inline worm hook? Something like this. You'd put maybe an 1/8 ounce weight in front of it, and you would rig this toad up, and you would either, you know, skim it across the top of the water with a very light weight, or maybe you might let it sink down a couple inches and you pop it up. A great bait. But you guys know what I like to do with this, but I'm gonna go over it once again for you guys that have not seen this rig possibly. I love to fish this with an underspin. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this same toad, we're gonna screw it on. It's got a screw lock hook. We're gonna put the underspin on here, and that's the way we're going to fish it. We're going to fish it almost like a crankbait. And what I like to do with this is I like to hover stroll it. And I've been hover strolling this bait long before hover strolling was a thing, long before forward-facing sonar came in. I didn't know I was hover strolling, but the way to fish this for best results, you're going to throw it out, you'll let it get down to the desired depth, and you're going to hover stroll it. You're going to shake softly and reel like this, and maybe pop it every now and then. Just shake it, reel slowly, pop it. And what that does is it gets this whole bait just undulating the flash and the tails will work in tandem, and it just catches a heck of a lot more fish than when you're just reeling it in. Now again, if you are going to throw this, maybe you want to put a some type of crayfish imitation on. Don't be afraid to throw something like a beaver or a this happens to be the Rip City, what do they call it, Bronco bug, and I throw this one a lot. And this thing here with these tails and the flash under it, it turns this into a whole different bait. So don't be afraid to change your baits with this and use unconventional baits when you're using this underspin. And again, if you want to put a skirt on this, you can thread a skirt on the line. You don't have to put a weight up here. You just take a bobber stop and you put it up here, and now you have this bait, and it's basically like a swim jig. That's what it is. Man, you can't beat these things. Lots of things to do, and I have thrown enough out there already for you. What else can we do? Oh, here's something that I like that you guys may want to give a try. And this has to do with when you're using some of these trailer style baits. This happens to be a 6 cents bodega. This happens to be a G-Rat Dixie flip. Really long tentacles and lots of motion. This is one of the BKK hooks with the Permalock weight in it. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to put the Dixie flip in here. And these things are tough. The Dixie flips are tough. The G-Rat Dixie flips will go on here and they will catch a lot of fish. One bait will catch a lot of fish. So we've got the Dixie flip on here, and you can fish it just like this naked, or you can add yourself a, and remember, the weight is in here, so we don't need any weight up above this skirt. So what we're going to be doing is fishing this thing so it looks like this. That's one way to fish it. The other way to fish it is, again, this is a really cool way to fish this bait, and you're going to like it when you start catching fish on it. I'm going to take that underspin wherever that went to. Here it is right here. We're going to take this Dixie flip. We're going to screw lock it on there. We're going to rig it weedless, and we're going to just use this like a crankbait. Dixie flip, or like I said, this bodega with these long tentacles. Man, these things look great in the water. And if you, again, you want to put a skirt on them, look at that. Man, these things look great in the water. They swim almost, it's almost something that you can interchange with a chatterbait or maybe even a spinnerbait. It just gives it a different look. You can pop it in, you can reel it over the top of vegetation, and you can just really have some fun with these baits. So, you know, that's it. I'm losing my shade here. There's a lot that we went over. Think about any of those combinations or make your own combination. Don't worry if I'm talking about a beaver or a bronco bug or, you know, whatever it is. Use the baits that you are catching fish with now because you already have confidence in them. So with that, I want to thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys on the river. Good luck.